Okay, so now we're going to look at the inferior view of the skull. And so to make it sit a little bit better on the table, I'm going to remove the skull cap, which is anatomically known as the calvarium. So from this, we're going to remove the calvarium, and we can see the internal view of the skull and the inferior view. Now this is a special skull. This one allows me to look at the skull from several different extra views. So these lines are just allowing us to see it in a mid-sagittal view. Okay, so from an inferior view of the skull, we're going to start anteriorly and work our way posteriorly through the bones first. So the first bone we see, here's our upper row of teeth. So anything that is holding our upper row of teeth anteriorly is our maxilla. And this makes up the majority of the roof of our mouth, also known as the hard palate. Posteriorly, in the roof of the mouth, the hard palate is made up of a pair of small bones called the palatine bones. So here is a left and right palatine bone. Working our way posteriorly from there, we can see it kind of changes elevation here. So this bone, this is also part of it, and we'll talk about what those are called in a minute. Here's our sphenoid bone again, and it forms part of the orbit here. We also have laterally coming together our left and right temporal bones, so they're curving underneath to make the base of the skull as well. And posteriorly, and probably the biggest bone that you see in this view, containing the foramen magnum where our spinal cord comes out, is the occipital bone. And one thing that's a little tricky is the occipital bone has a little neck on it that reaches out to touch the sphenoid here in the middle of the skull. So we basically have bones on the inferior view that make up the hard palate or make up the base of the cranium or the base of the skull. So sphenoid, left and right temporal, and occipital bone.